Welcome to Toffee TV. It is the daily live extra. I'm literally doing this all on my own. So if there's any problems with any audio or anything else, please just let me know. Because I am here on my own and I'm having to control it all on my own via my laptop, my phone, and everything's over there. So blame Ned. Ned's not here. So hopefully everyone can hear me all right. That would be a good start. Yeah, Vita Pereira links have intensified overnight. It looks like he will be getting an interview. I think that's as far as it is at the moment. It's just an interview. We obviously know where this is all coming from. Kia Jordan has got his sticky fingers all over it. And once again, Everton are in the hands of a proxy director of football by the looks of it. Look like which we have been for some time. And I just can't see this being the answer. I really can't. I just, to me, a guy who has never managed in the country before, that's fine. No problem with that. But the track record doesn't scream to me. It really doesn't. It just doesn't scream to me. A guy who's going to turn this round. And let's be honest, we are in a mess, aren't we? We are in an absolute mess. And yeah, we're in a mess. I mean, Saturday, there was a little bit more Saturday, and obviously in the second half there was a little bit more, but just in general, we just look so lacking in ideas. We need players in. We need players in the next week as well. That's another thing. You know, we need players in, and it's not looking great. I just don't see the sense in going after a guy who really's only managed in Portugal, and you know, if you're talking about top 5 Germany and got the club in Germany relegated, and believe it was a big massive farce. Farhad Moshiri's been on TalkSport this morning. He spoke to Jim White, all the same old normal stuff. Working hard to get it all done, blah blah blah. But it's who you're working with, mate. It's who you're working with. You're working with the wrong people. You're working with a guy who it's his job to get people round, move people around Europe and around the world and make money off it. This is a guy who went in and destroyed QPR. This is a guy who's got a track record of someone not to be trusted. This is a guy who is a stain on football, as far as I'm concerned. These people like him are a stain on football. They just go into clubs and they promise so much, and then they just walk away, and they leave a trail of devastation behind them. And it doesn't matter to them because it's not their football club. And the owner is being seduced into it, hook, line, and sinking, and you know, it's bad decision after bad decision. Everyone can see that now. It's open. It's public. Everybody's aware now of the situation at Everton. It's public knowledge now. Kia Jordan was there on Saturday. I mean, talk about not reading the room, Farhad. Jesus Christ. You invite the guy that everyone can see is an issue. You invite him. Just crazy. And it's there, as I said, it's there now. It's in public now. Everybody knows. Everybody's well aware of what's going on at Everton and how we are doing things at Everton. And it's only going one way. I look at the club and I look at the situation we're in, and I honestly just think I just don't think we've got enough to get out of it. I really don't. I really don't think we've got enough to get out of it. Obviously, it comes down to winning 6 games of football, essentially. If we can win 6 games of football, then we'll be fine. But the club isn't fine. The club is an absolute mess. It's an absolute mess. And this guy is just making it worse. Instead of trying to sort out the problems, and sorting out the problems would be bringing in a guy at the top who actually knows what he's doing. I've said it a few times, I know I'm not the first, but someone like Dan Ashworth, who actually knows how to run a football club, but is part of the football club as well. So it's got some real stakes to it. Not a advisor who is nothing to do with the board. And looking at people like Vita Pereira, it just smacks at that. Last week, Cannavaro, another one of his players, managers. It smacks of just getting my man in. Oh, you come and speak to him. So obviously, at the beginning of last week, it was about Roberto Martinez, who was clearly a Bill Kenwright manager, and now we're getting managers pushed to us by Kia Joraban onto Farhad Moshiri. And it's only going one way. It really is. If you keep on making bad decisions in any walk of life, you're only going to end up in one place. That's going bust in the real world. In football, it means getting relegated and then maybe going bust. The fans were there on Saturday. They made their voice heard. It's the pictures have been all over the place. You know, they represent a larger set of fans because everybody is genuinely unhappy with the situation. You know, whether you agree or don't agree with protests or whatever, I imagine a lot of people feel the way those people did who were protesting in the Gladys Street and in the park end. We've got, I've seen obviously last night. I think it was in the Mail saying that Dave Prentice is going to be coming in as the communications manager. Now, I think, well, listen, a lot of us already knew that was going to happen, but if that's what he's doing, and he understands the fan base, which I think he does. He's been on Merseyside for a very long time. He's an Evertonian. His family are real Evertonians. Got a rich line of Evertonians. His wife is the granddaughter of Dixie Dean. Then he must know how we feel. He must know how fans feel. He must feel the same, and he's got to get it into the club and into these people. That the way they talk, they communicate with the fans. And I think Farhad Moshiri mentioned something about this today. Is that they've got to start talking to fans. They've got to start having a meaningful conversation with the fans about where this club's heading. Because it's not just about the stadium. And I think, again, I've seen a couple of bits about this over the weekend as well, where people are starting to finally cotton on in the media, going, this fella's put all his eggs in one basket, which is the stadium. And that can't, and certainly doesn't, get in the way for fans. Fans know what's going on. Fans know now. It's clear as day. Seen people over the weekend going, who's this Kia Joraban? Everyone's waking up to it. And to be going after a guy who's got no experience, in the Premier League, but no experience of like a real pressured job. I know he's worked in Turkey and places, but he's going to come in and I imagine he's just going to cause chaos. I know if he was given the job, I certainly wouldn't write him off. But the fact that he's in the conversation to me is just nuts. That's not taking the situation seriously, as far as I'm concerned. You're not taking the situation seriously of where we are right now. and whatever happens this season, if the worst case scenario happens, then we are in real trouble. But even if it doesn't, as a club, we're a mess. And players are going to look at the good players that we've got are going to look at that situation and think, right, I'm off, I'm going. And that is, that. I mean, don't get me wrong. Those players need to roll up the sleeves and put a right shift in. So, we're in a situation where the worst case scenario doesn't happen. But I'll be honest, I'm sitting here right now and I'm thinking the worst, and I'm thinking the worst not because it's dead easy to do that, or doom merchant. I'm thinking the worst because I'm looking on the pitch and seeing nothing, and then I'm looking in the boardroom and I'm seeing nothing, and that's it. I've seen this before. Seen it at Newcastle, seen it at Leeds, seen it at Aston Villa. Clubs like us, if we go down the wrong path, if you get the wrong players, if you get the wrong manager, if you've got the wrong people running the club, it's only going to end one way. I think we're all very aware that we're not too good to go down. I think we're all very aware that there aren't 3 teams worse than us. I think there's clubs who, of course, look at the weekend. Burnley get a point at Arsenal, Newcastle win at Leeds, and Norwich go to Watford and win. We've won 1 away game all season, and you've got the 3 teams while I was there getting 3 good results. Okay, Watford got beat by Norwich, but Watford will probably change their manager. If we don't start picking up wins very soon, there's going to be 5 teams for 3 places, and we're going to be one of those 5 teams. And I just look at our players. Neil Carr says, stop going on about the board. Let's talk about the pitch and the manager and the players. No, I won't. The players and the manager are a symptom of the board. What's the point? What can the players have to do better? We've talked about that all weekend. But the players and the manager, we haven't even got a manager. The players and the manager are a symptom of what's happening in the board. If you can't understand that, then I'm sorry the point is, I am talking about the manager. I'm talking about the manager, the next manager, and who makes that decision. That's the board, or that's Farhad Moshiri and Kia Joraban. That's the point. We're getting all these names thrown at us. What's the point in having a meaningful conversation about it if it's going to be if the likes of Cannavaro and Vita Pereira are in the conversation? What's the point? We haven't got a manager. We haven't got a director of football. We haven't got a chief scout. We haven't got medical staff. Who's doing these jobs? At the moment, we'll have a few medical staff who are at the club, as well as under 23 medical staff and other medical staff. This is a farce. This is a farce, and it's getting worse every day. Scott Howard says, I'm a fan of Bill, but he showed guts confronting fans outside on Saturday. I mean, yeah, fair enough. I thought it was just a big pantomime myself, but there you go. Connor says, we're looking in the same pool of managers as Watford, I bet. Yeah, I imagine so. While there are good managers out there that we could, there are good managers out there we could get, or experienced man. Listen, wasn't massively in favour of Frank Lampard, but I tell you what, I'd take Frank Lampard every day of the week in front of someone like Vita Pereira. Every day. I'd take Wayne Rooney every day. Ahead of so I see him described as a serial winner. Serial winner in the same way that Silva is a serial winner, I imagine. JJT says we are in a relegation battle and we are looking at someone who's been relegated. Exactly. I mean, what does that tell you? Let's just have a look at some of what our patrons are saying. Let's just not get away from the fact that we've just been beaten by a very, very average Aston Villa side as well. We had one shot on target, a header by Ben Godfrey. Let's not get away from that. Bobby C says, I know we could go down and perhaps the club's mismanagement means we deserve to go down, but hand on heart, do you think we will go down? I'll be honest, hand on heart, yes, I think we could easily go down. Easily. RCO2 says, if this Portuguese journeyman gets it, we may as well liquidate because the club is gone. Carl says, there's going to be a lot of noise, no doubt, about who should get this job. Would you guys be able to do an objective critique on one of the shows about the apparent 3 candidates, comparing styles? Well, it'll be done by then, mate, I imagine. RCO2 says, whenever we get a manager, whoever we get as manager basically decides the future of club. Managers like Favre, Kovac won't get us relegated, but managers like Cannavaro and Vita will. Is simple. Yeah, that's it. The likes of Favre, Kovac, they're still out there. They're still available. They're not doing anything. Why aren't we talking to them? Why aren't we talking to them just as a courtesy? DT Toffee says it's too late to change our minds about Allardyce. Georgie Redmond says, can you be asked? Stephen Guy says, this is a full-on cluster. Fook now. If this lightweight gets it, Pereira stays long enough to screw the club and then take a wedge. No, Macheri, absolute muppet. Exactly. Everywhere he stays for 2 years. How's that open the football club? Like, if he was a specialist in saving clubs from going down, I'd go, yes, no worries. But he's not. He's got nothing about him in those terms. Owen Brown says, this guy Pereira was not the answer when we appointed Martinez, and then his CV looked better, it did. Now his recent record is terrible. No experience in the English game. Several record of short-term appointments in sacking. Got to be Rooney or even Lampard now instead of him. Or just bring Carsley in to help dunk. Even Allardyce in to help dunk would be better than Kia Jar Binks cast-offs. Gareth says, the fact that so many of us, including myself, would have Sam Allardyce back shows just how bad the situation is. Yeah. Yannick still shows a lack of a plan at the top. 100% reactive and 0% proactive. Absolutely. It seems like things are going back and forth about whether to hire short term or long term. But the board don't recognise that the Everton job is always short term with them around. If you don't have the candidate you want, simply find someone to fill the role in the short term. Dunk, Big Sam, whoever. And then go out and get a proper list of candidates when it's not mid-season. Absolutely. But there are managers out there, as I just said there. Favre would probably do it short term. He's got a good track record. Kovac, okay, maybe that'd be a bit more long term. Steve says, I'm surprised that they have not spoken to Rooney. We all know what this club needs. Managers from overseas don't work. We need Premier League managers or players who have played and won the Prem. But we can all see the writing on the wall. We're going down if we don't get the right man. Willow says, I'm seriously worried about relegation. This next managerial appointment will either keep us up or send us down, and I don't think anyone trusts the board to make the right decision. Absolutely. Steve Kelly says, right, Ped, mate, hope you're well. It is effectively down to the fans now for this club to change its ways. Well, the fans have just got to keep on being vocal. I suppose the only thing is that we've got 2 weeks now. And in those 2 weeks, that appointment could be made. I did hear, I think it was, not sure if it was on Sky before, saying they thought Duncan Ferguson would be in charge for the next 2 games, regardless. But the club haven't listened as such to the or don't have a direct communication with the fans, so it makes it really hard to have that kind of communication. Andy Walker says, we're turning to Watford, and like Watford will be playing in the Championship next season. It'll be interesting to see how the season ticket sales go if we get Pereira in. Well, they haven't released anything about the season tickets, have they? Stuart Thompson says, come on board, go and get Zakaria and Tarkowski. Let's get leaders. But who's going to make that decision at the club? Kia Joraban. I got told that on Saturday we approached a manager, high profile, worked in the Premier League before, and his agent said that the agent simply would not work with Kia Joraban. What does that say? Jake Ablett, I think we need a safe pair of hands until the end of the season, and then get someone like Dan Ashworth and Tim Cahill in with a plan, and Rooney in for a complete rebuild of the team. We have to sell Richarlison, Dominic Calvert to fund this too, whether we like it or not. Got to get to the summer though, haven't we? Got to get to the summer, Jake. Johan says we need centre midfielders, and that's now. If Decore's injured, we have Gomez, who's crap, and Allen. Absolutely. Decore groin injury. But who's going to make that decision? Jake Ablett says Bill wants Martinez and Machiri, doesn't give a flying. It doesn't have a flying clue. So he's asking to leech off an agent mate, which one of his clients fancies a nice payday, pay off in 6 to 12 months. We have all the makings for relegation this season. It's all unravelling in front of us. I don't see how we get out of it. I really don't. Absolutely. Keith Powell says desperately need Sean Longstaff. Sean Longstaff's not signing for Everton now. In our midfield now, Decore injured. Even more important, Sean Longstaff's not going to Everton now. Machiri is taken in by words of Kia Joraban, and now it's Pereira. Jesus, we're in a swell of a toilet bowl heading in the drain into the Championship. It's scary. It's a narcissistic battle of the board. Machiri's team versus Ken Wright's team, and no one else matters because both of them think they are correct in their own abilities to run the club when they obviously not. Yeah, and I think that's what people have been saying about Bill Kenwright. You know, I know I've heard a lot of people saying it's not Bill Kenwright's fault, and I agree. I'm not saying he's the problem, but he's part of the problem. And I think he has to start making. If he's unhappy with the way the club's run, then he's got to start making noise. And even if he stepped down and said, "I can't work at this club and I can't be part of this club anymore," or something of those, or something, I don't know, but he's complacent in it, isn't he? He's part of it now. He's part of it. He's the chairman. And like, you know, when you're going after Roberto Martinez next week, and then the following week you're going after someone else who's the owners from the owners team, like you've said there. Jake Abbott says, "Would you take Nottingham Forest gaffer?" I like what he's doing, and I think he's a very forward-thinking manager on the right track, bit like Graham Potter. But why not go for Graham Potter? But I do think he's a good manager, and I think he's doing good things at Forest. Daniel says, "Do you think it's good for us to stay in the cup, or just go out and focus on getting 6 wins to the 5?" Well, no, I think it's always better to be in the cup. None of this, it's a distraction. I remember in '95, the cup was a distraction. It was a nice distraction. It was a really nice distraction. We played some good football in it, and we got loads of confidence out of the cup in '95, and it allowed us to start playing football. So you play 1 week in the cup, do well, and then take that into the next game. You know, I think if we went out of the cup against Brentford, then all the focus would be on the league, and it would become very negative, be even more negative than it is now. Let's have a little refresh. Jake says, Machiri said he wants to communicate better with the fans via Jim White. No more needs to be said. I believe that's what he said, yeah. Maybe with this new communications manager coming in, there'll be more messages. Listen, if Dave Prentice comes into the club and he's a bit like Alan Myers, then that's exactly what we need. Conrad Cole says the whole club stinks of relegation. Jake Thompson says looking forward to Wigan away next season, lads. Wigan aren't they in League One? Kieran says Ped, we could have Pep in charge, but unless we strengthen the middle of the park, we are finished. True. Slat says need to get some decent players in, but the time is limited. I have zero faith that Machiri will make the right decision, let alone quickly enough to let our manager make assessments. Connor says we need to put early termination clauses in contracts because the compensation is killing us. I don't know about that. When you say termination clauses, do you mean like, dun 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 dun? Daniel O'Connor says any news on the core? Probably lucky that the international break has come when it has. Though honestly, I love him, but I blame Dunk for his injury. I mean, you can't. I don't think you can blame Dunk for his injury, as in getting an injury. Paul Ladd was running for 3 players next to him, playing next to Gomez in a 2. Badly needs CMs and don't see what happening with this manager. Circus still going on. No, well, let's hope he's back maybe for like the Leeds game, 3 weeks. Maybe. I don't think that it could make the Newcastle game, but Richard Dean says, has Machiri not learned any lessons by now? Isn't he supposed to be a shrewd businessman? Well, he's sublet the club out, hasn't he, to Keir Joroban by the sounds of it. Nathaniel says Pereira is a fraud. Blokes only manage the top teams in Farmers League, bar 1860 Munich, and that went well. Yeah, that went very well. The comments are coming in faster than I can read them, so yeah, I can't even read the comments because they're coming in so fast. So I had to get on Patreon or Super Chat. You know the score. Baz has still got COVID. Well, of course he's still got COVID, so he probably won't be in all week, I imagine. Well, he won't be. He's not allowed to be. And if he comes near me, he can do one. Let's have a little refresh on Patreon. No, we're just in a mess, aren't we? And the next couple of weeks are going to be huge for us. We need to get a manager in and we need to get players in. Simple as that. But just, we're going to do the final word after this as well. So that'll be live over on Patreon. So I'll be giving, obviously, my thoughts on the match from Saturday. But I did think Dunk got it wrong. I think he got it completely wrong. Paul Carlo says, why don't managers have key performance indicators in their contracts? Football management seems to be the only job in the world where it's financially better to be bad. You're absolutely right. Why don't they have contracts that are like, you've got to win, you've got to win actual games of football? It's mad. And that's what I was saying about Joroban before. And these agents, the parasites. They're absolute parasites. And the problem is now, the likes of Joroban, Riola, Mendes, they're just parasites in the game now. They have so much control because they keep on saying this thing where people go, but Joroban's not his agent. Joroban's not an agent. He's not an agent anymore. He's a facilitator. He goes round and because he's got his fingers in all the pies, he just goes round and he makes deals happen. He's the middleman. He goes round, makes all the deals happen. And the middleman is the one who always makes the most money out of it. The fella who puts the two sides together. And he just goes round. And people like him now are just going round the world. And they're taking the clients here, there, and everywhere. To be fair to Mendes, he's got Wolves and it's worked. But that's what he's doing. He's in charge. He does all that and it's working. Because they've stuck to a plan and it's working. We haven't done that. Because instead of just coming out and saying that in the first place, Keir Joroban is going to be our advisor. We had Marcel Brands in and we've got Bill Kenwright. So we had 4 people essentially doing different things at our club. How is that ever going to work? It wouldn't. If the fella had come out at the beginning, Farad and Mashiri, and said, we are having this guy, and he is going to be the guy in charge of all that, then we mightn't have liked it, but we'd at least know what was going on at our club. Owen Brown says, think Dunk done okay on Saturday. Lots of people saying we should have had 3 in the middle, which I agree, but also, who do you leave out? As many say Gordon should start in town instead of Townsend. So how do you play 3 in the middle? With Dom, Richie, Gray and Gordon or Townsend, and none of these 4 have done well as number 10. You leave 2 of them out. That's what managers have to do. Managers have to make tough decisions that affect the team. Don't forget, we had Dom on, we had Richie on, we had Gray on, and we had Gordon on, and we didn't score. Remember that. We didn't score. You've got to get hold of the game of football. And that's by starting with, for us, 3 in the middle and getting hold of it. And then building and then saying, Townsend was rubbish. He should never have started the game, really, in hindsight. You know, it shouldn't have happened. Gordon. It should have been Richarlison on one side, Gray on the other, and 3 in midfield. And maybe if Alan had been fit, he would have. He hadn't trained all week. Gordon. That's what you need. We are, as Evertonians, we are fixated with our starting 11s. We always are. We're fixated with starting 11s. We never think about the bench. We never think about the squad. We've had this thing in our heads because we've never had a proper squad. We are fixated with our starting 11s, where managers look at the game and go, well, this is how it'll start, and this is what'll happen, and then I'll bring this player on after a certain time when the game opens up and there's more space. And that's what Anthony Gordon did on Saturday, and he was brilliant when he came on. He mightn't have had that effect. We've seen that with Gomez. Gomez has come on with half an hour to go in a few games and grabbed hold of the game. But as fans, we're fixated with our starting 11. You've got to get hold of a game. Personally, I think you've got to get hold of a game and start dictating it, and then maybe change it to your advantage as the game goes on. But far too many times we are bringing players off the bench, and it's a reaction to being behind, rather than bringing players on because you're doing well and you want to stretch the game even more. Denny D says, I hate our club. 40 years of supporting and nearly 30 years of hate. I honestly wouldn't care if the club burnt down to the ground. We had a joke. It's a bit severe. It's a bit severe. Yeah, the comments on YouTube are just coming in far too quick. Let me see. Shrika says, Chris Wilder, big mentality and modern footy ideas. Yeah, he's an interesting. I mean, he's obviously at Middlesbrough. It was interesting that when he went to Middlesbrough, though, no one was clamouring for him in the Premier League. He'd been out of a job for a while. I'd take him over Vita Pereira. I really would. Willow says, can you see us actually signing any players without a director of football? That's the main thing I'm worried about at the moment. As we're up shit's creek, and I don't think we can bail ourselves out with a signing or two. I don't know, because I don't know who's making those decisions at the moment. They must have players that they like, and they must have players that they've looked at, like we did when we bought Patterson and Michaelenko. And there must be people at the club whose job it is to do that. Ben Armstrong wouldn't mind having an agent run the club if all the clients weren't so rubbish. I agree. Bill Cummins says, we are a mess, a shambles from top to bottom. An owner relying on super agents, no director of football, no scouts, no manager. If we go for Pereira, I'm seriously worried we are going to be the next Leeds. Yeah. I think we are already. I think it's just a case of whether we get out of it. Gareth Jones says, would you go for Dele Alli? I wouldn't buy him, but I'd definitely go and try and get him on loan. Tottenham are definitely looking to do business this week. I've heard maybe 3 in, 3 out. Dele Alli, I imagine, if he's not wanted, go and get him on loan. And I tell you what, right, the same applies to Ross Barkley. I'm not asked about people saying he's this, he's that, he's the other. You know what? So what? We need Ross Barkley could come in and would be the kind of player we need. Let's forget about what you think about him. Evertonian Luke says, how would we get the best reaction in a protest wise? But it would have to be a full house, not just a few hundred. Yeah, but that people don't see it the same way. Some people see it different. People wanna get wanna have a go at the ball, but they don't want to protest, or they're not in the areas of the ground or whatever. Don King says, Dele Alli and Barkley are both available on loan to the end of the season. It's a no-brainer. Absolutely. I'd definitely go and get one of them if I could. We've got to put all that nonsense to the side, especially with Barkley. None of it really matters at the moment. Right, last couple. Mike Cosgrove says a centre back is a must. Don't concede goals. You pick up points. Absolutely. Although I did think we looked a little bit better with Mina, although he was a little bit nervy at times on Saturday. Denny says, just so angry with our club, mate. Sorry for swearing. The fans deserve better than this. Hope Baz is okay. Trying to be positive in these dark times. I'll take that back about the club burning to the ground. I mean, the problem is, what you've done there is, if the club did burn down to the ground, you've made yourself a suspect, essentially. So, apparently, someone's just put, Vita's just followed Everton. It's inevitable, guys. Is he on Twitter? Really? What's he called? The Armband or something? Phil Gallagher says, let's face it, we were prepared to get behind Rafa, so why not Barkley? Absolutely. Yeah, there you go. I could be here all day. Talking about this. It's given me a headache. It's been giving me a headache for about 6 months, if I'm perfectly honest. Yeah, we're in a mess. We're in an absolute mess. And yeah, I don't know how it's fixed, if I'm honest. I don't know how it's fixed. But I'm not sure if bringing in Vita Pereira is the answer. But we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see what happens over the next couple of days and over the week, and see what happens if we can get any players in. It'll make a big difference as well. Right, I'll be back at 5 o'clock on Patreon for the live at 5. So if you're not on Patreon, why aren't you on Patreon? Come and join us. It's for a month. It's less than the price of a coffee with a bit of froth on it. So come and join us on Patreon. We do daily live shows. So come and be part of it. You get discounts on your merchandise, and there's a forum. We can all feel miserable together. So I'll be back. I'm also doing the final word live on Patreon as well in about 15 minutes or so. So if you're on Patreon, join us on there. If you're not, the link is in the description. Thank you for watching. I'll see you later.